Hello and welcome to Stylist Chats with Creatives. Today on the podcast, I've got Jo Coates. Jo is a stylist and the owner of We Are the Home Stylist, and she's based on the South Coast.
Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good,
You all right?
thank you. All good.
Good. It's lovely to have you on. Thanks for reaching
No,
out.
thank you for having me. It's great to talk to like fellow creatives. So yeah, brilliant. Can't wait.
Yeah. It's really, I've had a little bit of a nose on your Instagram and it is so interesting what you do.
Oh, thank you.
I think like you style a bit of show homes and that kind of thing, and for estate agents as well.
Yeah, so I basically started the business last year, probably August last year, after me and my friend came up with the idea for it in lockdown, but I sort of took the helm of it last year. And focusing on home staging and home styling. So the main things would be either going into empty properties, dressing them for sale, and basically making them look the best they can be, but also show homes, doing sort of like the interior design, but like staging the show homes for sale. But then everything as well, from creating mood boards for people for their own homes, like whether it be just one room or whether it be for the whole house. So it's quite varied, like the services that I offer. I have been working on a job for somebody that they had a new kitchen extension with like a casual seating area, dining area, and then they're snug, and they just wanted to like refresh the furniture, like make a more cohesive look in the space. So they came to me and I've been like putting mood boards together, sourcing furniture and all of that. So it's like a really nice hybrid between styling and interior design, both of which are my big passions. So yeah, it's really good.
It sounds so interesting because it's not like commercial styling.
No,
It's not like you're going into a set and it's 3 walls that have been built by Set Build
exactly.
and you've got to go from a certain angle.
Yeah.
You know, this has got to be seen from all different angles. It's personal to that person
Yeah.
whose house it is.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously I've had experience as a stylist, a photographic stylist as well. So I'm very much used to that, where it's like, right, do a shot, look at it on the screen, no, tweak that, move that. And you can see how the image like evolves as you go through and like move things. But this is like, wow, you've got to look at this from all angles, like, and you've got to think really carefully before you start spending other people's money as well. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't muck this up. So yeah, it's a little bit different, but there's definitely a crossover as well from the styling. But yeah, no, it's really good though. I'm pleased to have had those skills from styling to incorporate into this business. So yeah.
Yeah, we were just talking before we started recording about how creative sidestep quite a bit as well.
Yes.
So how did you start your creative kind of journey?
Right. So when I graduated, I moved down to Dorset and I worked just in retail, and I moved into a visual merchandising role for who was it? It was like a jewelry company, and doing like visual merchandising of their displays. And then I moved to John Lewis as a visual merchandiser. And I was there for 3.5 years, and I did a lot of secondments for like their new store openings. And I was like ordering like the VM kit and all the ticketing, like acrylics and things like that. But I'd also help like create the in-store displays before the shop was open. So I did that on a few of them. So I'm one of these people that I like to have like quite a varied job. I quite like it when things are a bit different. And I think that's why styling was quite good, because you have like different clients, different briefs and things like that. But yeah, so I was at John Lewis for 3.5 years. And then I moved from there to a local company called Beals. And I worked in their head office as the visual merchandising communications coordinator. So I was basically telling all the stores how to do their in-store displays, helping to create the Christmas scheme, like sourcing all the kit and everything. And then it was when I was at Beals in the head office, we created like a mini catalogue, and we did a little shoot down in the basement of head office. And that was the first time I'd really like done proper like on camera styling. And I also we did like a little shoot in a local location house that there is down here. And I got to do a bit of styling on that. And that was the first time I was like, this is quite cool. I quite enjoy doing that. And then this is a very whistle-stop tour of my career here. But but after that, I moved on to a local creative agency called CHS, and they are all-purpose agency, and they've got a big photographic department. And I got a job there as a stylist, and they work for everyone from Lakeland to Kingfisher, Screwfix, Cozy Feet, Kenwood. Like, there's lots of people I got the opportunity to work for. So it was everything from product photography, food styling, model photography. I did a few abroad shoots for Cozy Feet, and I got to organise that. So I got to do a lot of the production side of it as well, which I always loved, all of that, like the logistics and all of that kind of thing. So, and those like really varied days and varied shoots and varied clients I absolutely loved. And I was basically there until I left to go and have a baby. After, I think I was there for just under 4 years, or 4 years, I left to go and have a baby. And then I had a year's paternity, and then I left there and went freelance as a stylist, and I've worked as a freelance stylist a little bit while I had my little boy Toby, and then I got pregnant after a year and a half, and then had my little girl a year and a half ago ish. And so it's been quite a challenge, like, since having two. And it's been quite a journey, especially like having one child where we'd tried for a long time. We did struggle to have him. And then so having him, it was like I felt really ready for like a whole new challenge, like becoming a mum. And I was sort of thinking, I'll be more than happy to just not work from home, to be at home and like looking after him and things like that. And I didn't really think about the freelance side of it. And then it was like, could do with earning like a bit of money again, because a lot of the onus fell on my husband, and all of the onus fell on my husband basically. So I dabbled in a bit of freelance for some local agencies down here, and then just having my daughter has been like quite a challenge, because she's been a much harder baby than my little boy was. And as a result, it sort of made me really appreciate like going to work a lot more and doing something for myself, because I sort of feel like having a few years out of work, like regular work, going into the agency, getting your briefs, cracking on with the jobs, I very much felt like I lost a bit of myself, and I started doubting my ability to be creative, to style. And I just thought, like, what on earth is going on? I think I really underestimated like what being a mum was gonna like do to my sense of just feeling like what my ability to be creative is, because I'm a very creative person. We were talking before as well, like how there was a million jobs that I would have been happy doing, like a visual merchandising, styling. I've always wanted to work in film and television. I used to want to work in radio. Like, there's loads of creative jobs. I even used to want to do a voiceover, like be a voiceover. And it's like, and now I listen back to my voice and I think, oh no, I'm not sure that was right. But anyway, but I don't know. I sort of had a real crisis of confidence. To be honest, I'm still working through it. And I think being a freelance stylist, as you know, like when you have those periods where it's like you just feel like you are not getting any work, no matter who you contact, you're not hearing back from people, and you just think like, oh my word, I'm going to have to go and get a proper job. I'm saying with inverted commas there. And it's just been really hard. So I'm definitely coming out the other side of it. But that's why I sort of thought having kids changes your perspective as well of like what your priorities are, because obviously going off on a big freelance job for like a few days is definitely going to be more challenging for me now, where I'm like the main like child looker after in our family. Obviously I've got my husband here, and we're very fortunate that both sets of parents are like within 10 minutes of our house, so that's definitely been like an absolute godsend having them here. But I just have the classic thing of like feeling guilty, like I'm going out to do something. But the reality is that it actually does my mental health a world of good, like going out and doing something for myself, and like almost like reaffirming my abilities to be creative you know, and I'm also probably a better mum for it because I've like had that time to like hone my skills again or do something for myself. And I come back to my kids, I'm like, right, I've got a bit more patience to deal with you today.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's been a bit of a wild ride becoming a parent and like being a creative as such, like as well. But I'll get there eventually. But yeah, so that's why I think starting my own business became like, it felt like the right thing to do because I can work around my kids. When my little boy starts school in September, I will hopefully be there to like do the drop-offs and pick him up and, you know, just be present as a parent because that's what I want to do. You know, that's why I wanted to have kids, is to raise them myself with like my husband. So we'll see. As I said, that Home Stylist is in its infancy, but you know, we've had a few jobs and it's been really good, and it's made me feel a bit like, oh, can I do this? Are people going to see through me that I've been on maternity leave for like, well, I say maternity leave, I just left my job and then like done a bit of freelance, but you know, are people going to see right through that and think, oh well, she's lost all ability? But you know, hopefully not. I think the world's changing with their attitude towards like working mums now. So yeah, hopefully that will help me in the long run.
Yeah, I do think that people are more flexible now, and also I think it's a good thing for parents to show their kids that they have to go to work, and you know, money doesn't grow on trees as such, you know, and you've got to go out and earn your money to make sure they've got everything they need. Exactly. And also like you say, for you to go and feel yourself again and not just someone's mum.
Yeah.
You know, it does you almost like you just put in a different hat on.
Yeah.
Like, right, okay, cool. I can go and immerse myself, come back feeling a bit more refreshed.
Definitely.
Bit more patience. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's been a hard transition, and like I think it was just the shock because I wasn't expecting it. Like I just always thought, right, well, I'm a stylist, I'm going on maternity leave, I'll come back to it. And I was a bit naive thinking once I left, I would quite easily be able to get freelance work. And then you see the whole other world of like all the freelancers battling out for the limited amount of jobs that there are out there. And you're like, oh my word. But yeah, it's definitely good, like going out and doing jobs like that, just to make me feel like, yes, this is I can do this job. I did it for years. I've got a lot of skills, even from the previous jobs that I had as well. Like everything sort of like amalgamated into like when I did styling, and now hopefully I can transfer those skills into the Home Stylist as well. And you know, because interior design and that kind of thing has always been like a big passion of mine. I'm like a massive Rightmove obsessive, and always looking to see if there's a project which I can dream of buying and doing up, but I've got no money to do to do that.
Yeah, we've just finished doing our kitchen. I say we got the kitchen fitters to do it because I was not going to touch it. I ended up taking out half the kitchen. After this, I'll send you some pictures.
Oh
before
yeah,
and
definitely.
After. But the previous owners clad the ceiling in wood, the ends of the island in wood.
Oh, wow.
There was like, it was shockingly shit. It was so bad. And we were like, right, okay, well, we'll get the kitchen done because we don't want to move. You know, we're gonna stay. So we've done the kitchen, but then the walls, where they put the tiles on, with like concrete,
word,
grout rather than normal grout. So as my other half was taking the tiles off, it took some of the plasterboard off. So we've had to fill the holes.
Oh no!
So now we're like, right, we'll just take a breath. The tiles can be done in like over the summer. Yeah. But yeah, we were just like, oh Jesus! Every time we pulled something off, something else was worse underneath.
Oh no, it's like one of those things, like a knock-on effect, and you just think, oh my word, please no more surprises, like please don't do anything, we just want to do this in this room.
Yeah, Yeah, it was literally like we thought we'll get that done because we've got open plan downstairs, and we were
nice.
like, at least then when we can sit and chill out, it's all like nicely done, and then we're going to get the other bits of carpentry done, like some cupboards.
Oh,
and
nice.
stuff. But yeah, it just, we saw a house actually that we both really wanted, and we actually bid on it, got the offer accepted, and then we started pricing it out. This is before we bought this house. And we would have had to have spent like 6 figures on it just to get it livable.
Oh my word.
And I thought, I can't stress about finding the money to do that and then living on the drive in a caravan for probably a year.
If not longer, probably.
And I just thought, I can't do it.
It's one of those things, like you watch like Grand Designs or the George Clark stuff, and I love all that. Oh my word, like give me a home renovation program and I'm literally like, oh, this is amazing. But you think like they always end up in like a caravan or a mobile home on their driveway, and they end up being on there for like a year longer than they planned, and they've got 2 kids, and you think like, oh my gosh, like how are you doing that? I mean, my hat goes off to them, because I think like you do end up with a beautiful house or something at the end of it, especially if you've like built from the ground up or like done like a massive gutting like renovation. But yeah, it's a lot of commitment if you've got to live like that, because I mean, I'm not very good on a caravanning holiday or camping as it is. I don't think I could live in one for a year and a half or something.
Yeah, I'm the same. And we did it a lot as kids when my dad was building or extending stuff. And like I think the realization that I'd be doing it again as a mid-30s adult and it would be me in charge of it, I thought, fuck no, there's not happening.
Like, no, thank you. I'll leave that to my dad. I'm not doing that.
Yeah. So like, I mean, like the doors in there were like classic 1960s doors, and they had all the like kind of, I'd call it like sunshine beam. You know, they weren't like straight. They were just kind of arch glass, and there was the doors that sold it to me. And I thought, we can go in the loft and everything.
Yeah.
And then I just thought, we don't have the money to do this. So it's just going to stress us out. And then because, like you were saying about being freelance, you never quite know when your next job's coming in. And it would just have been such a stressful time. And I think we wouldn't have enjoyed going to our jobs, and I would have found it even more stressful. And I think like you have to balance it out, don't you? And kind of go, is that worth this short amount of stress? Which sometimes some people play it off, you know, it's 2 years and we're done. But I couldn't have done it. I'd have murdered someone.
But and also, like you say, financially, like you hear nothing but on these TV programs that like when people they need like about 50% contingency like on top, and you just think like, where are people getting their money from? Like when they need like, oh yeah, we've gone like 250 grand over budget, and you're like, sorry, what? Where have you got that? Where have you got that from? And then as a freelancer, you think, I don't know if I'm going to be able to afford to pay that month to month. But then throw in for my situation, like having kids, my husband's the main earner. Like he's got enough stress as it is, like having to like pay for stuff, and my work is like a bit of a top up. And obviously it's great to have, but you just think like, I wouldn't want to put that stress on somebody else, especially when you've got like 2 kids thrown into the mix. I don't know how people do it. I mean, hats off to them, but it's not for me right now, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've said that it would be really nice to own like a holiday home here, you know, like a flat or something. It's something easy to manage, but like completely gutting a house, because this house that we bought was actually gutted by the previous owners, and then they went up into the loft. So basically they did what we wanted to do in the other house here. And so they've done all the main work, and then you can see where they ran out of money with the kitchen being crap and stuff, you know, they were just trying to get it done. So I think you're right. I think people do underestimate how much things cost, especially if you're wanting to live in something for a long time, you know, and not just quickly flip it.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I mean, we did a house renovation before this one, but it's very different when like you don't have kids, and we were fortunate that we could stay with family, and It was a 3-bed semi, and it was a 1930s house in Southbourne, and it was a beautiful house, like really near the beach, and it was lovely. But we literally couldn't live in it for 6 months, so we had to live with Steve's parents. And you just think like, I mean, that's a big ask for family as well, for like two of us and a dog to like move in and disrupt their lives a bit. But yeah, it's a whole different ball game, like with kids, and if you're doing like a bigger renovation. But I mean, thankfully we were relatively on it with the logistics of like, right, get the builder in, knock down those walls, right, plumbing, electrics, plaster, like, and it all sort of happened relatively quickly towards the end. But we just got to a point where like we need to just move in and live in it. But we literally couldn't live in it before because there was like the boiler didn't work. So
God.
It was literally like one of those, like it needed new boiler, new kitchen, new plumbing, new literally everything. So I mean, it was a great experience. But then we moved to this house and took 8 months to go through, and then by the time we bought this house and we moved in, that's when I was pregnant. So I was laying vinyl floor in the bathroom at 36 weeks 36 weeks pregnant.
Oh God.
Which wasn't fun, to be honest, but it had to be done. So but yeah, this was a bit more of a livable renovation, like we could do like a room at a time. And we're now at a point where we've lived here for 4 years, and now we're wanting to like change stuff that we did originally.
Yeah. I think you do get like a certain like amount of years, and then you're like, oh God, what was I thinking?
Bored now.
Bored. Yeah. We did a classic in our old house, like a classic. It was a white wall, and then we put frog tape up at like diagonal angles. So we had loads of like different triangles. Then we painted them. This is very of the time. This was about 5 or 6 years ago.
I know exactly what as you're describing it. I'm like, yes, I know exactly what you're referring to.
Yeah. And we went with varying yellows and varying greys.
Oh, and yeah, lovely.
Very of the time. It looked great at the time. And then we hit probably during the pandemic actually, and we got rid of the bed in that spare room, and I was like, let's just paint it all white again. And then I got some bright orange paint and this sounds hideous, but it looked really nice. And we just did like a scalloped edge kind of like halfway round,
nice,
from the bottom halfway round. And that was kind of like our dressing room. And again, that was very of the time of a couple of years ago, when everyone was like drawing around plates around like a line. And
I think my daughter's bedroom's got that actually still, but I did that literally. Well, I have my little boy's room's got it, but the other way, so it's to look like waves.
Oh yeah,
because nice. He quite likes that that sort of like underwater theme. And you're like, well, I need to try and appease him and like make it look nice, but the control freak within me is like, oh my goodness, I need this to look half decent as well. It can't be like really cheesy and have like I don't know, loads of, I don't know, offend anyone, but just not my style. I didn't want that. I needed it to look like tasteful.
Yeah. I remember, talking of tasteful, when we were looking at paint colours, we went into B&Q on a Saturday, and my other half, to take the piss, was just picking lots of different random colours, like a really horrible green and a really horrible bright yellow and like really horrible primary like stark colours. I just looked at him and I was like, are you serious? And he just goes in front of, you can imagine down the paint aisle how many couples there were. And he just goes, you never let me choose anything I want. And this woman looked at me and was like, oh God. And the husband was like laughing because he knew what he'd been doing the whole like night, taking the piss, whole trip down there.
And
I was like, well, you can have green, but you're not having like bloody bright green, from a nursery. You're not having bright yellow from a nursery as well.
Yeah.
Like, no, we're not doing this. So does your other half support your decorating choices, or do you compromise a little bit?
We have to, on the whole, I'd say we're actually relatively aligned in our style, which is good. People that complain that their other half isn't interested, I'd say you're probably lucky, because actually, if you can just go hell for leather and do what you want, like, that's brilliant. But when, like, Steve's he's a web developer and he's quite creative as well, and like stuff he does, he's really into music and all sorts of things. And like actually he's got quite a strong opinion on like decoration and stuff. So I definitely like, we definitely run stuff past each other. Like even when he's come up with an idea for like his office that I'm in at the moment, like that's all him. Like I might suggest stuff, but I think we definitely like bounce ideas off of each other. But yeah, he has a relative amount of say in the decisions as well. I mean, sometimes I think, to be honest, in any relationship, sometimes you want to be like, can you just let me get on with it, please?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
you know, it's fine. Like this, it is what it is. And sometimes I'm like, I sort of will just keep pushing and eventually it might go my way. But sometimes I have to relinquish or we come up with a good compromise. So, but he's really good, like for me, in the sense that like if he suggests doing something or I might suggest doing something, he will literally be online on like Wix or B&Q, like ordering stuff to collect, or we'll be down the hardware store at the, that's very American, hardware store. You know, going down B&Q or something at the weekend and like just buying stuff. And then it's like, right, crack on. And I'm like, wow, oh my gosh. Like, I think in my head, I like to like, right, just make sure it's absolutely right. Like, let's make sure we're not like going to do something. It's going to be wrong. It's going to be a waste of money. I want to like plan it and like just take my time with it a bit sometimes. But that's, you know, but in the end, he is quite proactive with stuff. So stuff does tend to get done pretty quickly when it's like, right, let's just crack on and do it. And it's like, oh, right, okay. So it's like recently he's like, he's just built a deck. And I said, I'd really like it done by spring. And then before I knew it, it was like, oh yeah, so-and-so's coming over to help me. Oh yeah, deck's up, done. And it's like, oh right, great. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
amazing.
Yeah, he's very good in that sense. So yeah, it's that initial enthusiasm. And a lot of people might get this with interior stuff, but you have the initial enthusiasm and it's like, yeah, I want to do this, X, Y, Z. And then it's just the finishing touches, like, right, let's just clean up the mess on the carpet. Let's like take that masking tape off. Right, we need to touch up here. We need to fill that hole there. We need to hang the pictures and whatever it might be. Because you sort of like, sometimes stuff takes longer than you intend as well. And you're like, oh my gosh, I just like don't have the energy or the headspace to finish stuff off. And I think where I feel quite overwhelmed and like I'm literally surviving day by day a lot of the time, I look around the house sometimes and there's a lot of things that I'm like, yeah, 100% I want to do that. But I literally just don't have the physical and mental capacity to deal with it. And I know it sort of sounds a bit silly, but it's like, I'm just done in, like at the end of the day. And in a way, that's why, just going back to work now, but you know, when I go out and do a project, it reminds me of like when I used to be working full time. It's like you go to the office and that is your set time to do stuff, rather than like, you know, when it's projects at home. And especially now I'm like, I've got nothing left in the tank to give to finish this off. So doing work is quite nice. It's like, right, I've got a lot of time to like finish these projects and like to work on this and do it. And you feel like, yeah, I'm doing this at a normal time of day where I can be focusing on it as well, and not in the evening when you've had your dinner and all you want to do is sit down and switch off in front of the television and like just watch like countless episodes of something. And but it's all good.
I'm with you. I mean, we painted over I called it Boomer Blue because it was kind of like a 90s denim wash blue that they put on the hearth, not on the hearth, on the chimney breast. And then it was kind of a shitty magnolia.
Oh, they love a bit magnolia, don't they?
It's taken 4 coats of white paint to get rid of it all.
What? Really?
Yeah. And then I've still got like a strip of Boomer Blue that we had a bit of a mantelpiece and we took that off, and so there's a strip of Boomer Blue that needs to go, and then there's a bit where we ran out of paint, so I need to repaint that bit. But the same as you, I've run out of energy. I am like, I'm done at this point.
We're just gonna leave it. Like, Boomer Blue.
We're just gonna leave it
now.
Yeah. And we even went and bought the extra paint because we just ran out of white paint. And I've had time to do it, and I've looked at it and thought, I can't be arsed. And it would take me half an hour.
That's the annoying thing, isn't it? A lot of the time, these little jobs take literally 10 minutes, but in your head, it's so much. It's going to like take you a day to do it. Like, oh, I've got to go and get paint. I've got to go and get a brush. Oh, I've got to go and actually paint it. Then I've got to wait for it to dry. I've got to do another coat, and then I've got to wash the brush. And you're just like, I can't be bothered. I absolutely cannot be bothered to do this. And the annoying thing is, it really wouldn't take very long, but it doesn't stop you thinking cannot be bothered to do this.
And then, like you say, it's like having that time, allotted time, where you're like, right, I'm going to do this today, and that is all I'm going to do, and we're going to get it done. And then you think, oh, it's only taken me 2 hours. Great, I've got the rest of the day to chill, do whatever, tidy the house, whatever you're going to do. And it's just a lot in that time. And I think I've got a day next week where I can't go to work because my car's in the garage. So I'm probably going to have that day where I'm just finishing all these little bits off that really annoy me.
That's so good that you can do that. I mean, my excuse a lot of the time, and I feel like it's a valid one, but literally my kids are 3 and 1. So I am in the trenches at the moment, I feel like. So when I'm with them, if I am trying to do something else, like getting a paint pot open with a paintbrush with a 3-year-old, he's just going to want to start doing it. And quite honestly, I cannot be bothered with the aggro of clearing that up afterwards, let alone painting over what he's done on the wall, whatever it might be. So it just makes it feel a whole 10 times harder. And I think, well, I'm not going to do it then, because if I'm doing that, then I'm not looking after them. I'm not concentrating on them. So I'm like, really, I could do with them just being taken away for a week, so I can just get on, do all my tidying, my organising, all the little paint jobs, doing all of that. And then I can just crack on and do it, and then it'll be done. And I'll feel such a sense of achievement. But unfortunately, no one's volunteering to take my children from me for a week. So
it sounds like you're in Toddlerville at the moment.
Yes, very much so. Even when we were setting up the mic and stuff for this, Toby was in here and wanting to stay with me, and I was like, absolutely not. You are not staying in here while I am doing this. You should be in bed as well. And also, he's like getting up in the night all the time at the moment, and it's like, you should be shattered, mate. Like, go to bed. So there's a few tantrums. He's not too bad on the whole, but it's definitely like when they start to learn the word no, and like, no, actually I am going to tell you, no, I don't want to do that now. So we're very much in that stage, and you're just like, you are going to do it, and it's not really a question. So
we've got 2 nephews and a friend's kid who is like a niece to us as well, and one's 18 months and 2 of them are almost 3. And you can just tell they just want to do all the time, and it's repetitive. We saw like our nephew this week, and it was like opening the shed doors, shutting the shed doors, putting his little lawnmower to sleep for a nap.
Oh, obviously.
But for like 20 minutes, because the lawnmower needs a nap. And I was absolutely desperate for a wee, but like everyone else was in the house, and I was down the far end of the garden. And I was like, shall we just go back to the house? Should we go and find it? And I was trying to think of something that would intrigue him away from the sliding of the shed doors. Because also I could see what was going to happen. His fingers were going to get trapped in it.
100%,
But they just love to, like, it's that repetitive, like, doing, isn't it? They're just learning as they're going. But I can't imagine being a mum with it constantly.
Oh my goodness,
because it was tiring just being auntie.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's so nice to be able to give them back at the end, isn't it? It like I'm appreciating like those times of like being an auntie or looking after friends' kids before you're like, and you can have them back now. Whereas now, like, even if the kids have been out for the day with like my mum or Steve's mum or something, they're the ones that are like, and here's your child back, and they're like hysterical, overtired, and you're like, no, I don't want them now. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Could you have just at least put them to sleep for an hour before
Yeah.
you brought them home?
No,
Yeah.
it's a real juggling act when they're like that as well. You just think like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, this is a lot. But yeah, it's all good. We're learning. We're just winging it a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think, do you know what? Generally, I think most of us, whether we've got kids or not, are winging it. And I think like that's something that, especially with kind of imposter syndrome or like guilt of like, I don't know whether you find this when I've not got as much work on, I'm like, oh shit, I feel really guilty because my other half's bringing more money in than
Yeah.
what I am. And then when I end up having more work, I feel more guilty because then I'm at work more and not spending as much time at home with him. And like,
Yeah,
just
definitely.
constant like cycle of
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
guilt.
completely. And I get that so much. Like, and especially now where I said I'm trying to like pick up the amount of work I'm doing a bit more, because actually like going from 1 to 2 kids was absolute mayhem and chaos. And like we had, like my daughter had colic when she was born for like 4 months, so it was just like incessant crying a lot, like every day. And then she went straight from that, when that sort of like calmed down, she went straight from that into teething. And it was just like,
Oh,
it just felt relentless. And she is like a fiercely determined little girl, which is going to stand her in good stead when she's older. I don't want to knock that out of her, but equally, she's going to like keep us on our toes, I think. So, you know, feeling that guilt of like when I'm like, actually, I really need a break. And it is true. Like I've spoken to a lot of other mums and they've said like going to work is like a break. And it really does feel like that a lot of the time. I'm like, going back to the whole like getting to focus on, you know, me and trying to like uncover these skills that I used to have, but being a parent has suddenly made me feel like, oh, you can't do that anymore because you've literally just been a mum for 4 years or whatever. And but actually, yeah, you sort of have to try not to get swept up in the guilt of it, because actually, like I said earlier, I feel like I'm a better parent for doing work. And, you know, it does make me better, and also earning money as well, like, you know, which ultimately I want to help out again. I know that I've obviously been a parent, and that is, you know, saving money in childcare where I've been at home with the kids and things. And that is a job in itself and a worthwhile one. I'm not diminishing that at all. But when you're a creative, like you do sort of like have that need, like you need an outlet of something. And for me, whether that's doing some freelance styling work or whether it's like putting time and effort into the Home Stylist and trying to get my business off the ground, so that when my little boy's at school, or like when my daughter starts nursery in September, like hopefully I'll be able to like do a bit more of that work. But yeah, it's a tricky balance, and something I don't think I was really prepared for, no matter what people tell you. But I don't know if it helps having a difficult child as well. But then I guess everyone's got difficult children at some stage in their life, whether it's as a baby or a young child or as a teenager or something. I think everyone gets at some point.
yeah. Yeah. And I think as well, it's easy to say, oh, well, you're just a mum at home. Well, actually, like that can be an incredibly overwhelming job within itself.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not only like when maybe the baby's a napping, you're like, right, okay, I need to, I don't know, hoover, I need to tidy this, I need to do this. And you're not actually resting because you're on call essentially 24/7.
Oh, definitely. And you're always thinking, like, even when they're in bed, you're like, right, well, now I need to like load the dishwasher, I need to make dinner, I need to like do all these other things. And obviously, like, Steve helps out. But ultimately, I mean, I've heard analogies before. It's like having like a million tabs open at the same time. And it really is, because my internal monologue is like, right, what the kids doing tomorrow? Right, Toby's going to nursery, he's doing that, he needs that bag, he needs this, I need to get up in the morning, I need to make his lunch. Right, what's Oti doing? I need to do this, I need to get her breakfast. Right, she's going to that parent. And it's just, it is absolutely constant, like all the stuff you're thinking of, not just for the kids, but also then general stuff around the house. And then like work on top of it. And that's why a lot of the time I felt so overwhelmed in a way, like, how can I even put anything into doing work? Because I have been having to do it in the evenings a lot of the time because, well, childcare and, you know, all things like that. And that's been really hard because that is the time of day where, as I said earlier, I literally want to sit on that sofa, put like Netflix on or something, and just absolutely not really even talk to anyone. I just want to zone out and switch my brain off. So yeah, it's quite a challenge, like trying to like start a business where you've got to do all the marketing and like social media and stuff, which I am, to be honest, I feel like I'm awful at it. I mean, I can totally see how companies employ like social media people to literally focus on that. Because I find Instagram quite a stressful thing in terms of creating content, but equally, as a creative, it's such a good platform to be on, especially like putting out like still imagery of like work you've done, or, you know, my stylist Instagram account that I've got, I put on where I've done like home renovations stuff and styling within my own home. But also I did, and I have done, put like some of my previous styling work on there too. And I find it so difficult to like curate it. But then when you're starting a business, it's like you've got to have that visibility on social media in order to like, for these stupid algorithms, for them to like pick you up and then start recommending you to people. And I'm like, I literally don't have the time or the headspace to spend 2 hours making a reel, which probably only about 20 people are going to watch. Yeah. And it's so hard. And I just think like, I want to focus on trying to get work, but then equally it all goes hand in hand. And I mean, anyone that's got their own business where they're like promoting themselves, doing all the marketing and like trying to get leads and trying to do social media and like send emails out, like it is just an absolute minefield. And yeah, that's overwhelming as well. This is why I'm in a constant state of overwhelm, to be honest. It's like there's so much going on.
Yeah, you're definitely right about the business side as well. Like I had an issue with my website, probably summer last year, and I couldn't figure it out for actual months. And then when I finally had a half an hour to sit down and sort it out, it was literally like dot that I needed to remove from like one of the
coding
parts of the coding. Yeah. And I was just like, are you serious? But I've been sending my portfolio out, my website, thinking no one can see this. This is really annoying.
Yeah.
And it was literally a 2-second job. But you're wearing so many different hats.
I know.
And I think you're right with the algorithm and stuff as well. Like I've got my work one, which I basically use as a portfolio. And I put the odd reel on, just, you know, if I'm on a fun job. But like, who has the time to do that whilst you're working?
I mean, and
then it's just mad. And then with this the podcast one as well, I'm just posting headshots and then a little like reel just to get people like
interested,
interested. Yeah, but you're right, you've got to find your kind of like brand voice as well, and like your tone and like what colors are everything going to be. And I just think like fuck it, I'm just posting the pictures I like. That's it. Do you know 100%. What I mean? I've done this cool job.
Yeah,
I'm doing it. That's it. Done. And it, like, you know, it's one of those things when you're a creative and you're good at what you do, people will still book you anyway. And they'll look at your stuff and be like, oh, okay, they can do like 10 different things. Cool. I know if I book them for styling, like and interiors, they'll be good. I know if they do a mannequin, they're good at that. And but I think it requires so much brain power to wear so many hats.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I've spoke to friends because I'm not the most academic either, and I've spoke to friends about it, and I've got an accountant now because I just thought I'm too terrified. I just can't.
I'm
going
to have I think like what are they called? HMRC. Yeah, I'm going to have them knocking on the door if I was doing it. I mean, goodness, I definitely had to get one. I was like, nah, I can't deal with this.
I mean, like, I've forgotten that my car needed an MOT and the car's been screaming at me that it's needed one for 3 months. And so I'd be so bad at doing my taxes.
Yeah.
it's just not worth it. And I think like there's some things that we can outsource like that, you know, obviously if you can afford to outsource an accountant or what have you. But I do think it takes a little bit of the stress off when that's one hat that you've given to someone else, so you can just be like, there you go, you can deal with that and come back to me.
Yeah, definitely. And if I could outsource somebody doing my social media, I 100% would. But I mean, you have to be earning quite a lot of money to have that as a surplus to be able to pay somebody, even if it was an agency. Because I've got a friend who's got an agency in Somerset, and she offers that as a service. And I would love nothing more than to be like, Kirst, can you do my social media? But at the moment, I'm like, I can't justify it. I can't afford it. I'm still trying to like get the company out there, and where I've spent money, it's been on like advertising, and obviously thankfully getting to do this podcast with you and just trying to get the name out there, because when you sort of like, you're constantly out there, people are like, oh, hang on a minute, this girl Joe's showed up again, like what's she doing? And you sort of want to be like a nice pain for people that you've been like, I'm here to style, I'm here to do your interiors, I'm here to do stuff. So it's just trying to like get yourself out there, and it's that's hard and stressful as well, not just for me but for like loads of people that do freelance as well. It's it's a hard game out there to play.
100%. I've been scheduling posts now because it just makes my life easier, because I can sit on one of my days off, or my other half's a lorry driver, so he'll work some weekends, so I can sit on a Sunday and schedule all the posts, and then it's done for a month, you know, and I've spent like 2 hours on it, rather than trying to spread that 2 hours over the month and just squeeze it in while I'm grabbing a coffee somewhere, or, you know. And I just think like it just takes a little bit of the stress out. But I actually I didn't realize that Instagram now has a scheduling feature.
Oh, does it?
And
I think, did I see something on that? Anyway, carry on.
I'll send you what my friend sent me, but she's 10 years younger than me, and she went, Shah, you just do it this way. And I was like, I was like Googling what scheduling apps to get and like all this. And she was like, no, you just click here and it'll schedule. And I thought, Jesus, I just needed a younger person to they are show me the way.
On it, aren't they? But it's things like that. I think, man, I'm old. Like I still feel in my head that I only graduated about a year ago, and I'm like, no, I graduated like 20 years ago or something this year. And it like that blows my mind that it has been that long since I was at university. But like, the youth of today, they are very savvy on stuff like that, and they would probably not even think twice about, you know, scheduling a post, and like even thinking probably about what content to put on. They probably don't even bat an eyelid, whereas we're probably, maybe it's our generation, I'm not sure, but like we're a bit more considered, and you're like, right, am I doing this properly? Right, get the right hashtags on. Yeah, right, what am I doing? Because I've scheduled a few before, but I often get like a chronic thing of like, I don't know what to put, I don't even know what image to put on. And with my styling work, annoyingly, a lot of the work I have done over the last year for like some fairly like well-known brands, the work's not been released, so I can't put it on. And I don't have copies of the images, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is actually like up to date, like food photography I've done, like videography, I have done stuff, and there's still work that's like old, like I say old, like a few years ago now, because, you know, that's all that I was able to get permission to use. And you're like, oh, come on, everyone.
That's really that's so frustrating. Or like when something pops up and it's like 3 months later and you're like, oh yeah, I styled that.
Like,
and then I'm like,
that.
And then I go, did I style it, or was I just in the studio and somebody else was styling it and I just remember the set? And then I'm like, I just don't remember.
Yeah, I know. Oh, but I would love nothing more than for this work to come out, because as soon as it does, I'm like, repost, I did this, shout it from the rooftops type thing. because yeah, it's nice to show people that you're a bit more like up to date and you're not just showing them work from like 5 years ago and you're like, oh, I have done stuff, I promise. But
yeah. And I think as well, when you get wrapped up in getting loads of freelance jobs in, you kind of I forget to post on my social, and all my friends are the same. When they're quiet, they're posting stuff and all the time, and then when we're busy, no one posts anything on the social because they haven't got time.
And a lot of the time, some brands, they don't want you to be posting like stuff. Some are like a bit more like open, like, oh yeah, you can do like a few behind the scenes shots, especially if they've done like behind the scenes stuff for their own accounts and things. But yeah, a lot of it's quite secretive, and especially like if you're doing Christmas stuff in June, it's like, well, this isn't going to see the light of day for like 4 or 5 months. So it's really hard when that happens. You're like, oh gosh, just want to show people what I'm doing. But
yeah. I'm glad it's not just me who's like stood in a dark studio somewhere detangling Christmas lights in a heat wave and in shorts.
Oh my word. Yeah, I remember doing that a lot. And you just be like, this is mental. Like we're making like 5 roast dinners in June. Painting words in gravy. And it's just like, oh my word. It just feels so backwards. And yeah, like you said, it's always in like the warmest time of the year. Like, oh my gosh, like what is going on? And when I used to work at John Lewis, the amount of customers that obviously would always complain when Christmas came out in the stores in September, and you were thinking, I saw this Christmas scheme and like ordered what we needed back in May. So don't you complain about it coming out in September. This is positively like winter compared to when I first saw this. So
yeah, one client I work for is already finalising the Christmas stuff now and has been for the last 4 weeks.
My word.
And they're like, you can't go in this room because we're just merchandising. They've got like fake stores within the head office. And they're like, you can't go in there at the moment because they're just finalizing Christmas stuff. And then the photographer came out and was like, look at this massive like teddy. And it's like a 4-foot teddy. And you're like, with a Santa hat on or whatever. And you're like, fucking hell, it's April.
I know, like as if you're thinking about Christmas now, but you know, we know from styling like Christmas campaigns, and then like I've seen it from working in retail as well. It's like, well, you know, it does happen like literally all year round. People are thinking about Christmas because it's, you know, the biggest money earner for a lot of people as well. So yeah, a lot of time goes into that.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't know about you as well. It's always difficult to find and source Christmas props.
Oh my word.
For the middle of summer, unless you've kind of got a backlog and start thinking about it in September for the next year of like classic baubles and stuff like that. And I remember going into maybe the Range, maybe B&M, somewhere like that. And someone had asked me to go and get silver baubles.
Brilliant.
And I couldn't find them. But you know, you're like, I have to prove that I've gone out to ask. And like there was a guy starting to do like a little Christmas setup. And I was like, do you mind if I just go through your Christmas boxes? And he was like, I can't. They're not even on the system.
Oh no.
And I was like,
please.
Oh. So yeah.
I remember.
It's always.
I know. And I remember because we did a lot of food photography in the agency that I worked for. I remember like when things like red currants come out in the supermarket, like literally the freezer would be full of red currants, Brussels sprouts, like all these like all the Christmas stuff that you need, or cranberries as well. Like, so that we could defrost it all like ready for the following year, because it was just an absolute nightmare trying to find it. It's like, oh yeah, I want you to make like a centerpiece with, you know, some cranberry, well, fresh made cranberry sauce isn't so bad, but you know, like red currants, and especially like foliage is the absolute worst as a stylist when you're like, oh yeah, have you got any of this at this time of year? And they're like, no. So I remember that being a massive challenge. Oh, but you know, it was all part of the fun, like sending the props buyer off to go and scout round to try and find all these ludicrous items in summer, like ready for Christmas.
Yeah, Yeah. And it's always like someone will have hopped over someone else's fence or gone to the local like forest
Yes.
and grabbed some like
Ferns.
trimmings of
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
always. Absolutely always. They'd be like, oh, I've just been to the woods, just got like these pine cones, I've just got this. And you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah. That's it. We must all look absolutely mental, like driving around, like stopping and just clipping half a
I
tree
know.
off
It's
and
like you
like
see a bit of
grabbing.
holly and you're like, oh, yeah, I'll have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's it. I saw some the other day and I thought, bugger, I best cut some of that because we might
Yeah.
need it. And I thought, oh no, I'm not on Christmas just yet.
It's so funny. It's nice to know that like all the stylists around the country are probably having the same issues. Like every year, it's like we're all out there trying to get these ridiculous items at the wrong time of year.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like you said, getting the secateurs out, going down the local woods and all sorts. Yeah, we probably look
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? And then you'll be like shooting summer stuff where you've got like, I don't know, like water slides and stuff in February.
Oh,
And you're like, can you get the kid models to wear swimming costumes? And we're going to have to like CGI in some water because we can't shoot this in like, we don't go over onto location much anymore. And, you know, you're just like, oh, Jesus
I know.
Christ.
Well, I
Like,
distinctly
what
remember,
can
I
you show
won't
him?
say who the client was, but there was one shoot, I wasn't on it, but it was January and they were shooting summer and they were meant to be doing barbecue outside at this location and they were putting burgers on the barbecue and they were refreezing because it was so cold outside. And it was like, this is crazy. I think they actually had to abandon the shoot because it was like snowing and they were meant to have like child models and like a
Oh,
whole
God.
like family setup essentially.
Yeah.
And yeah, they had to abandon it because it was too cold. The camera was just switching off as well. The photographer was like, I literally can't shoot anything. So
Oh, my
yeah,
God.
it was a bit of a nightmare. And they had like decent kit and stuff, so it wasn't anything to do with that. It was just that it was literally like in the minuses when they're trying to shoot this. So
Yeah.
and that was one of the things like when I worked with one client to do these abroad shoots and we had to like test the waters because obviously on the face of it, it is more money to go abroad to do a shoot.
Yeah.
But when it's November and you need to shoot summer, it's like you cannot do that in England. Like it starts getting dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon as well for a start. And also it's freezing. So yeah, when we started to like, I went to Mallorca, I went to Sicily and I went to Ibiza to do it. And it's like an absolute game changer, like having the light, just like you can start at 8 o'clock in the morning and just go till 6 and like you get like beautiful light as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were like days where there was like the odd bit of like torrential rain, but it makes a difference when people can find the budget to like do something and you're like, yes, this is exactly how I visualized it. This is what it should look like. And you think like, yes, I can make this look good because the weather is on my side, like temperature, like the models don't look like they're freezing their tits off, like all sorts. Oh, the joys of like organizing shoots and stuff. It was fun though. It's really fun.
I remember you talking about it being cold outside. I was shooting a teepee tent and we were in like gloves and like winter clothes because it needed to be shot and I think it was February or something. And as I was steaming this tent, it started snowing.
Oh my
And I just
word.
thought, we're not supposed to shoot this today.
We need to clock off for the day. This is not meant to be.
Yeah. So we I can't remember what we did. I think we left it overnight and then the snow like didn't settle, thank God. But like I just remember like sending my mum a video of me hand steaming this tent and just thinking like my job's so weird.
No, isn't it? I often thought that. And you'd be like, I mean, I've done stuff on like building sites as well. And you're like, I don't know, I was doing like dirtying up like models' trousers. And I've had friends that like putting oil on like models and stuff for things and, you know, just all sorts of stuff. And I remember once I did like a Ramadan shoot for Kenwood, I think it was. And, you know, I was making all this like amazing food, like all these recipes, but it was all stuff that I'd never heard of. And you're like, I would never be making stuff like this normally. Like they were having to go to like special like supermarkets and stuff to get like some of the ingredients, and like it was amazing, like some of the stuff that came out of it, and then the shots, because I was mostly doing all the food prep for that one. And one of my friends was styling it and it looked absolutely amazing, but you're like, but yeah, some of the stuff you do is just absolutely bonkers, like you couldn't write it, but in a way that's where it's quite good, when it's varied, like doing like right doing product shoot, right doing flat lay here, like just doing cutouts, right doing big lifestyle shoot, doing like model shoot. It's there's all sorts that you can do. So
Yeah, that's it. Because like I'm just still life now, and I've done model
yeah,
stuff. I've done like, everything. But still, I say just still life. I do interiors, I do creative still life, I do flat lays, I do e-com, and
so
like I
cool.
never know what I'm doing each
Yeah, I
day.
love that.
And I think it just makes it like more varied, and you become less bored because you're like, oh, well, that's itching my really neat, this needs to be dead straight,
Oh,
like pin up.
I love
Um, you
those
know,
shoots where it's like flat lay.
oh,
Oh, they used to be my absolute favorites. When if the camera
yeah,
could go overhead and I could do a nice big thing on the floor, nice graphic looking flat lay, like they were my
yeah,
like absolute
yeah.
favorites.
I'm with you. And I even just dressing a mannequin takes me back to when I first started styling, and I had a similar journey to you as visual merchandiser,
Yeah,
and then went into styling. And it takes me back to like dressing the mannequins in the shop and getting to pick the outfits, getting to like my early days of styling where it was mostly ecom,
yeah,
and you're like honing your skills of like what fabrics behave which way because they're hanging funny on the
yeah.
mannequins and the mannequins looking a bit weird, and it just, yeah, it's just nice. I think the variety is really nice, and
Mhm.
you don't have to niche out as much as what people think. Like you can do lots of different things with it. It's interesting you say about food as well. So you do food style as well
Yeah,
a
although
little
it
bit.
was funny. It never used to be like the thing that I was the best at, I would say, without like
Yeah,
giving myself like a bad rep. Like it was the thing that I probably just had to concentrate the hardest at. Like I could do it, but it didn't come as naturally to me as like product photography did, like still life
yeah,
stuff. And actually model stuff. I did an awful lot of model stuff, but yeah, I did quite a lot of food in the end, whether it was just styling like shop bought stuff or actually having to like get in the kitchen, like make recipes and things like that. It didn't come as naturally to me, but I think it is one of those things that like the more you do something, obviously it does become more like second nature to you. And actually my first freelance jobs after I had Toby was food styling, and I was like, you are kidding me, like you couldn't write this, like give me a nice like interior shoot or a nice like location house where I'm shooting like all these like products or something, like that would be like
yeah,
right up my street. And then, but you got to just, I did it and it looked really good. The client was really happy. The agency was happy. And that was the main thing. So it
yeah,
was just one of those things. It's like, oh, right. Okay. I can do. And actually I remember coming out of that shoot thinking, oh, I can do food photography still. I can style, like, and because that was like one of the first jobs after having a baby, and I remember absolutely bricking it before I went and did that job. But you've got to have like dig in the trenches of your memory of like, you did this as a job for years. Like you wouldn't have stayed in the job you did, especially being employed by somebody. Like they wouldn't have kept me if I couldn't have done my job. So I had to
yeah,
like
yeah,
remind myself of that. And yeah, getting to do like bit of food, bit of this and everything was really good. But I just thought it was quite funny doing food photography because I was like, oh, everyone at work would probably laugh at me, like the job I used to be at, because they knew that it wasn't like my forte. There was other things that I'd probably be put on first before I'd get put on food, but obviously I am capable of doing because I have done it since. So
yeah. That's it. And it's remembering, isn't it? It's like going, like for me, I went to a new client, and I'd not done interiors for a couple of
yeah,
months, and I was like, can I remember how to do this? And I texted my mum and my sister, and I was like, I met a new client and I'm not sure if I can remember how to do it. And my mum was like, you've literally done this day in, day out for 5
It's
years.
funny,
You've just not done it for 2 months. Like,
yeah.
of course you can still do it. She was like, you make your bed once a week at home. Of course you can make a bed.
But isn't that
Like,
funny though, how quickly you can start to like lose faith in yourself almost? Like,
yeah,
which
yeah,
is like, it's silly because when you do something and you get on set, it's like something just clicks and you're like, right, I know what I'm doing. But it's that preamble before. I think maybe it's a creative trait, but you like overthink stuff, and like a lot of us want to be like perfectionists at what we're doing as well. So you like really worry about the outcome of that beforehand. And certainly for styling, I felt like that, but also in like the home styling stuff, like especially when people are paying you for a service and you think, I've only just started this company, like how are people going to be paying me to do something which I've not had that much experience in? Like, even though I've done my own house and I have done like styling with work, and I'm more than qualified to do it, but it's just having that self belief that you can do it and being
yeah,
like, no, come on. You almost have to give yourself a bit of a pep talk sometimes,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah, yeah. I always go with the sentence of like, I'm more than capable. And also sometimes I think about physically putting a cape on and it's my confident
Yeah,
cape and my positive pants and I just go for it.
definitely.
So like, but I think that's being a visual person. I need like that visual thing of like, right, okay, yeah, I've got my confident cape on. I'm
Well,
fine.
in Grey's Anatomy, I don't know if you've ever watched that, but one of the characters in that called Amelia, before she does a surgery, she always like puts her hands on her hips like superwoman, and like does that pose of like looking up at the sky, so she feels like I can do this, and like that is
Yeah,
basically the
that's
same.
it, isn't it?
So yeah,
Yeah, that's it. And I think you do, it's easy to have your confidence knocked, especially if work's been quiet or like you say, you've been chasing leads and you feel like you're chasing your tail and
yeah,
you've not had any like work in, or, clients have gone quiet or what have you. And you're like, oh, well, can I still do this? Was I like too chatty
oh
before?
yeah.
Was I like, was I too silly? Was I,
Yeah,
because
overthinking every exchange, every
yes,
email.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And like, I'm glad it's not just me who overthinks it all. And then sometimes my other half is like, it's March, people's budgets have run out, there isn't any work.
yeah, exactly. And I have to remember that as well. And like, obviously, I have been out of the styling game a little bit. Like, it's not been my sole focus, especially for the last like 6 months or however. But I've still been like contacting people, and you just think like, oh, but all these people must just get so many messages from people like all the time.
Yeah,
And there's probably a million people that have put their portfolio forward, but you just think like, come on, I just need a chance. Just want like, if I can just have one
yeah,
job. And it is the one thing I've found certainly in styling, and I know it's the case in like film and television as well, where I've wanted to do stuff. It's about like who you know a lot of the time, which is
yeah,
a bit of a shame, because you think like there's so many talented people out there that probably like, just because they don't have that foot in the door, they don't know somebody that can be like, oh yeah, come and watch me for a day, or come with me for like half a day. And even just like being able to shadow someone for a bit, or just to be able to be given that chance, like often you have to show like through doing, like, so to
yeah,
speak. So yeah, it's hard when you just want somebody to like go, yeah, come on then, come on Joe, come and like style assist for me. And then I'll be like, yes, because I can then show you what I can actually do, and I can show you that I'm like a nice decent person that will like be an asset to like your team and stuff. So, yeah, it's hard when you just want to get like given the opportunities, but yeah, there's a million other people out there as well trying trying to do the same thing.
yeah. Yeah, and I think something for me as well, I've started to put boundaries in, and like with the hours that I'm working and stuff like that. And then if people don't pay on time or they cancel me last minute, I'm like, "Oh, we can't, this isn't going to work."
Yeah,
And I think there's like a certain amount of, some people expect you to just zip it and get on with it.
yeah,
But there's certain things where I'm like, actually, that's not cool. So I'm going to step away from that because you're making me look unreliable, or, you know, I need to get paid on time because I've also got a mortgage and, you know, dog to feed, husband to feed, you know, and I think some things as well with people getting other people in to kind of shadow them. There's sometimes a little bit of gatekeeping with stuff where some people are like, well, why are you here when I don't know where you've come from, or like, you know, why do you want to know? Well, actually, like, I'm not going to tell you everything. When I feel like definitely, like when we moved from Cambridgeshire up here, I definitely found that people were more open to going, oh, do you need a hand with that? Or like, oh, I can't do this job. Can you fill in for me? And there was much less gatekeeping, I think. But I do know that the TV industry is like incredibly hard to get into.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a friend who is a producer on Lorraine, which I always find really cool that she does that. And
that's cool.
And she's a friend of a friend, but like I've got to know her through my friend, and she's lovely. And just hearing like she tells me about like the stories and stuff, and I'm literally like, oh my gosh, like what I would do to like work in television. Like I love film and TV, and I'd love one day to do it. But I also have to remember, and there's probably a lot of like working like parents out there that might feel this as well, especially when you have like a lot of dreams of like stuff that you want to do. Like I want to like build my business, but equally like one day, goes back to me wanting to do a million things as well. But you know, like go and work in like film and television, either in like set dressing or like the art department or something like that. And I'm like, actually, that's not, now I've had children, that isn't really like feasible for me to do that at the moment. And I have to remember, like, it's almost a case of not now, but like maybe one day that will happen. So, you know, there's stuff that I can do now and like work on my business. And that is very much like Dorset and Hampshire and, you know, try and keep it local. So I can do stuff like in the day and still be like around for my kids and things. But I try not to think to myself, well, it's never going to happen, me doing like film, television, whatever it might be. But it's just a case of not yet. One day, but not yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, don't let the dreams die just because you become a parent, I think.
Yeah. And I think like my friend's a costume wardrobe costume, I'm gonna get it wrong, sorry Jules, for TV and film and stuff.
Really?
And she's our friend with the little girl who's like our niece, and she had Litland during the pandemic, and so took like a year off with her, and she's gone back into work, but her job seemed to be like 6 weeks long. She's on a job, and then, you know, she's got 6 weeks off, but she said like trying to work it around because her hours are 12 hours on set.
That's mad.
And then she might be driving an hour each way as well. And then you know, so thankfully like her other half works pretty much a 9 to 5, but like we've babysat and stuff where she's been at work and then he's had meetings, and you know, it takes a village, really.
Definitely. And that's amazing that she's been able to carry on and like doing jobs like that, because I think very often like people will think, well, like I've had kids and now my life's over, like my career's over, I've got to completely change. And to be fair, I have sometimes thought like, well, maybe I should go into like teaching or something, and then I get the holidays off with my kids. But then there's always going to be this part of me that wants to still do something creative. And I worry that like moving into something like that, you know, that itch won't be scratched, so to speak. And I'm like, well, actually, let's like just stay calm, like take each month at a time and try and like build on this. But that's amazing that she was like able to carry on with that, because I think for me, I'd probably see that and be like, there's literally no way I can work for 6 weeks in a row. But I think that's just because of my childcare setup here, and like where my daughter doesn't go to nursery yet, like it just isn't viable for that to happen. But that's so good that she's been able to like, no, you know what? Costume and wardrobe is my thing, and I'm gonna carry on, and we're gonna make it work. And that's really admirable that she's been able to do it. And I bet she loves it. Like, she probably needs that as well. I don't know how long she did it for before, but if she's done it for a long time, she was probably like, this is, I can't give this up. Like, I want to do it. Like, this is me as well. And that's really important. So yeah.
I think like you say, as soon as Littleton was in nursery full time, that was it. Boom. She was like, right, cool. I can go to work. And it's like less, I feel like nursery hours are better than school hours, because their pickup's about 5, 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock. And, you know, and it seems a lot more flexible than school. So yeah, I think it's she's been doing it a long time as well. It's, I think, over a decade. And she loves it. But also now she only does days. She doesn't do nights. She was doing overnights and all sorts, you know, just taking everything before Littleton was born. And I think that's it, is she's adapted what the working hours in which she's her working hours to suit her life now, but still keeping the job that she really likes. And, you know, I think it is important, because I think people do, parents do get lost within, you know, everything's your entire life, I imagine, is turned completely upside down.
Oh yeah, completely.
And, you know, then all of a sudden you've got another little human to be responsible for, and, you know, and nothing else probably seems as important, which it isn't. No. But it's still important to be yourself and have that sense of self there as well. Oh yeah,
definitely. It's like to have that outlet, I think, is really important. And I've really found that more than anything, even just in the last 6 months since starting like the Home Stylist and really trying to give it a go. Like, just for me to like just plow my skills into something which I'm hopefully one day going to see like the fruits of that labor, and create something that like my kids can be proud of me, like, for working, but I'm also doing something that I love. And hopefully I can still be flexible and do styling, because I do still love it. You know, it is important to have that outlet, I think, and especially as a parent, because it's really hard, because it's 24/7. Like, I know obviously they might be in nursery, but I mean, even at night, I mean, these people that work full time and their kids are getting up like 3 times a night, like, it's like debilitating sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know how you parents do it. I really don't.
I don't know either.
Like, I've seen friends with babies at work, and they look so exhausted, and they're like, Littleton's got up like you say 3 or 4 times in the night, and they're like, we're just here.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when the kids are kind of through that phase and they're starting school and they're a little bit more like got a little bit more of a schedule and a little bit more grown up, you just see the parents just go, oh my God, we had 8 hours sleep and it was incredible.
Yeah, it definitely is a game changer when you get a decent night. You feel like a new person, which is ludicrous when you think, oh, I've had 6 hours sleep in a row without being woken up by a tiny person. Like, brilliant.
Oh dear.
I know, but it's all good. Like, it's just, everything's a phase, and we'll get out of it eventually. And then before I know it, probably they'll both be at school, and then I'll be left with all this time, and I'll be like, oh right, I can actually like really crack on now. So
yeah, you can fill all those holes that you needed to fill.
Gosh, I know, tell me about it.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on and chatting to me today. It has been such a joy to have you on.
Thank you. It's been lovely speaking to you, and also speaking to a fellow stylist. It's nice. It makes me feel like I'm still there. I'm still a stylist, like holding on.
Yeah, you absolutely are. Absolutely are. Well, thank you so much.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please rate, follow and share, as it really helps this little podcast out. And if you have found value in the podcast and you have the means to, I do have a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. This will help keep the podcast going. Join me next week for another fantastic guest. Bye!